cups, swords, batons, coins. These were the 4 suits of a standard Italian 56 card deck. Venice, Milan, Florence, Urbino. These were 4 cities in northern Italy that a small change in the beloved card decks begat one of the most important tools used to pull back the veil to reveal the truth in the past, present, and future. In the middle of the 15th century, the first tarot decks were created. In addition to the 56 cards in 4 suits, 21 trump cards were added, called the tarocchi, as well as the Fool. However, it wasn't until the last century that these cards were used for anything other than simple games. Introducing the Rider-Waite Tarot Deck, a coveted item for the avid occultist and a must-have for even the most casual of diviners. Dabblers, cabbalers, and anyone in between are certain to answer age-old questions such as, what lies in my future, with multifaceted perspectives and unerring accuracy for themselves and others. But I suppose you want to see the actual cards in a demonstration before purchasing. Hello, and welcome. My name is Calliope. Please, sit. I find that sitting by the first fires of autumn to be a truly delightful experience, don't you? I do adore the summertime, but there's something just so special about the beginning of fall. Now, I see that you have some interest in tarot decks. If you'd like, I have a very special deck that may pique your interest. This is the Rider-Waite Tarot Deck, published just a couple of years ago. 78 cards, 22 major arcana, 56 minor. But the magic of the Rider-Waite Tarot is not in what it is, but more specifically in its contents. This deck was commissioned by Arthur Edward Waite to be distributed by Rider and Company. But our true shining star is its artist, Pamela Coleman Smith. You see, Arthur Edward Waite had some very specific ideas about what the major arcana should look like. But in the case of the pips, or the minor arcana, it was more prevalent for earlier decks to have plain and lackluster designs. but Pamela Coleman Smith took it upon herself to design all 56 minor arcana cards herself, using only the written instructions on what each card was supposed to mean. But the art is just the backdrop, is it not? What makes the deck is its play. Allow me to demonstrate. The spread is Celtic Cross. Inverse cards will be played as upright. Here, hold out your hand. I will place the deck in the center of your palm, and I want you to cover the cards with your other hand. Now close your eyes, and I want you to focus on what you seek from the cards. What question? What situation would you like more insight about? And then we will begin. We place the cards. And one by one, we will turn them over. Interesting. This is a good card to start our reading. And with the heart of the matter, we start with the 10 of Cups, a card of celebration, familial love, a happy home. This card signifies blessings and contentment, but also serves as a reminder to not be overly idealistic and to be grateful for what you have, flaws and all. To not belittle realistic relationships in favor of fairy tale endings. It may be a sign that you have a team of people behind you and to lean on them if you need to. Now, to gain a little more insight, we move to the opposing factor. And your card for this position is the 2 of Swords. Conflict, indecision, miscommunication. Our seated figure is blindfolded. Crossed arms hold 2 swords aloft. This card invokes uncertainty and reluctance to make an important decision. It may involve not wanting to move forward in fear that it may hurt others. It may involve denying your emotions and intuition in the matter in favor of trying to be logical. The opposing factor is the obstacle, the challenge you are faced with. It may be a sign to listen to your intuition and re-examine all of your options and gain new perspective on the matter. The root cause is the card representing the foundation of the situation at hand. And for this, we have the Hanged Man. Between a rock and a hard place, the Hanged Man is in a position they cannot force themselves out of. No amount of control or action will make it go away. The Hanged Man represents surrender, contemplation, and sometimes sacrifice. It advises to make peace with that which you cannot control, allow things to pass, and the chips fall where they may. Your greatest strength may be found in letting go. The wheels may perhaps only move forward when you sacrifice. Known influence. This is what you already know to be true. If the root cause is your foundation, then the known influence is your background, and this could influence your beliefs and aspirations. The Ace of Cups is our known influence card. A hand holds an overflowing chalice of water pouring into the pool below. This card has many associations with spirituality, opportunities, and intimacy. Maybe a sign that when we allow our emotions to flow, our imaginations to run, that this can create opportunities for growth to occur, whether it is in relationships or spiritually. The past influence card, however, represents what has come before. It could be a lesson, could be an experience. Our past influences card is the 10 of Pentacles. The Pentacles are sometimes called the Coins suit. Upon first glance, the 10 of Pentacles is obviously a card of wealth and abundance. It also represents legacy, like a line of ancestors that each built upon the efforts of the previous member that led to you. It is a reminder that we are also part of that line, one who will be built upon by the next member. But this does not only mean material wealth. Wealth in the form of physical security, relationships, and connections, or experiences can be just as important and valuable to who comes after us. And the 6 of Cups is in our new circumstances position. This could represent a challenge, an opportunity, an experience, even a person that will soon change the situation at hand. A card of nostalgia, innocence, and childhood. It serves as a reminder to remember our younger selves when we were fresh and in wide-eyed wonder of the world. To take the approach of being willing to fail if it means that we learn. To be open-minded. To be optimistic that things will work out if we just take a step forward. Take what you will from the experiences behind you, but leave any bitterness or jaded feelings in favor of exploring opportunities with the same childlike enthusiasm. The self, how we see the self, is represented by the 6 of Pentacles. Now this is an interesting card in that it is not exactly what it seems at first glance. On the surface, this looks like a card of generosity, and in part it is, but it is also a card of the balance between giving and receiving. A rich man gives money to the less fortunate, but none of their faces show positive emotions. If anything, the poor still look stricken, while the rich man looks vexed, annoyed even. This is someone who gives, but does not gift. The poor figures have been given, but have not received. There is a conflict between if what we are giving truly helps, or if what we receive outnumbers what we pay forward. As for our surrounding environment, the Hierophant, the teacher, the master, this card is in the surrounding environment position, which can tell us a little bit about others' perspectives about the situation at hand. And it may also tell us a little bit about what is available to you. This is another card that tells us to examine ourselves, more specifically, our beliefs. Perhaps to us, the situation we are focused on looks bleak or grim, but the Hierophant tells us that this may instead be serving us as an opportunity to learn. It tells us that we have so much to learn, and that knowledge can only work for our benefit. Guidance. What guides us? Maybe something to avoid, maybe a goal to work towards. Our guidance in this reading is the bereft, vulnerable 9 of Swords. Our figure sits up in bed, holding their face in anxiety. It may represent literal insomnia or something keeping us awake at night. It may be worry or something we have repressed, nightmares, fear. It tells us that the current situation is untenable, that we may have to cut our losses and confront our fears head on. If we do not, the situation will not change, but instead compound. Well, this is an interesting pull. Sometimes the cards can work in the most obvious and surprising ways. Our outcome card, the last card in the spread, is the Judgment card. Transitions, maturation, review. The Judgment card tells us that in all things that are certain, the passage of time is the most. Everything changes. It is a card of examination, to be unflinchingly honest to ourselves, to be accountable, to take what we can from our successes, our failures, and interpret the lessons we are given. It is a card of growth, of molting from a restrictive shell, and going forth as something transformed. Sometimes it can be so fascinating the way the cards speak. The overlapping themes, the hidden messages throughout. Generally, one does a single tarot reading for themselves. But if you would like to know what else the tarot can do for you, we can perform an entirely different spread. Excellent. The spread is the 4-card general spread can give us a little more insight into the situation at hand, as well as give more advice than speaking on the path that you currently are on. One by one. Starting with the situation position. And look at that. We have the 6 of Cups reappearing. Nostalgia, memories, a card of the past. It tells us that in the difficulty of life, it may be prudent to look within to the more innocent, childish parts of ourselves for advice. Or perhaps we are holding on to the past, holding on to the nostalgia. For the challenge position, our first Wands card, the 10 of Wands, represents an overabundance of responsibilities. Too many to work well. Overburdened. And perhaps these responsibilities do not work for us as well. I feel a callback to the 6 of Pentacles with the balance of giving and receiving. In the advice position, the Queen of Cups. This card can represent invoking some part of yourself that mirrors this card, or it can mean an actual person that could help with the situation. The Queen of Cups is attuned to her emotions and intuition. She listens fully. She empathizes with ease. She gives her all to others, and perhaps gives too much. Artist, romantic, sensitive. But she can also swing from mood to mood. She can be manipulative. Queen of Cups tells us to listen to our emotions, to think with our hearts, and a little less with our heads. The Lovers sits in our outcome position. I find this one to be peculiarly apt, in that we had just drawn the Queen of Cups. The Lovers is obviously a card of love, but it is also a card of the relationship between the heart and the head. It asks us if the two are working in synchronicity, or if one of them has rushed ahead to leave the other behind. It tells us that working from the heart, working from love, is what the situation calls for. In looking at this spread and the last, there is a running theme. We have many cup cards making an appearance. As a suit, the cups involve emotions and relationships. Those seem to be heavy influences in the story we are weaving. Do you perhaps have want for another spread? Simple, I promise. Past, present, future. 3 cards. Let me shuffle these once more. Past, present, future. The past card. What may be affecting you now? And we have the Page of Pentacles. Many pentacles. Another card of youth. And in the situation positioning in our previous reading, I feel a callback to the Hierophant as well. The page is a practical and hard-working individual. He soaks up knowledge and studies with fervor. This is a card that could represent yourself or someone in your past that has relevance to the situation. For the present, the 7 of Swords. This is a card of many meanings, but there are some running themes. This card invokes the need for caution. It tells us that either we may be doing something that could harm another person, or we feel guilty over the impact or possible impact on another person. Perhaps we are intentionally avoiding conflict and confrontation to the detriment of our relationships. The 2 of Swords in our opposing factor position in the Celtic Cross spread echoes these sentiments. As for the future, the Magician. Many major arcana cards are making appearances. This card is of potential. It tells us to stay focused on the road ahead, on the end goals. We persist moving forward and retain the will to make our goals become a reality. It is a card of opportunity and advises to take advantage of it. Do you think you might have time for one more reading? Just a single card, rather brisk, quite curious. Thank you for indulging me. Let me shuffle. to laugh. This is a card of rest and reflection. The Four of Swords. It tells us to consult others, to listen to other perspectives, to gather more information and consider all options. It tells us to pause, to take some time for ourselves, to really contemplate. I feel this connection with the Hanged Man, actually. Well, I suppose that certainly puts an end to it. The tarot works in strange, piercing ways, does it not? That was a wonderful, insightful spread, don't you think? Now, I am not here to persuade you one way or another. I am merely here to interpret and relay what information is given to me. However, what I do wish to say is, do you think that you might like to take these home with you this evening? Excellent. I will wrap these. There. Store these in this silk when they are not being used, as to not absorb any other energies but your own. You may cleanse this deck once in a while with some smoke or by setting it in the sunlight for a little bit, just to shake off the cobwebs. Thank you so much for your purchase. I am deeply appreciative of your patronage. I hope you have an ever so pleasant evening and a good rest of your night. Thank you. Goodbye now. This has been a video that was passively in the works for a long time. For those of you that remembered my earlier palmistry video from this year, I had already had ideas about doing that again, but with the tarot. And just how the chips fell, it didn't quite work out until now. And I was just really thrilled to finally make this video. And I really wanted to put a focus on the artist, Pamela Coleman Smith. See, while she had an insane talent for
her art. I mean, the art is so beautiful and so recognizable. Even in the deck's traditional name, Rider-Waite Tarot, her name doesn't get mentioned at all. And, I mean, ostensibly, to me, she had the biggest hand in making this deck. And I find it to be disappointing that she had been almost forgotten. I mean, she stopped making art just a few years after she made the art for this deck. It just wasn't something she could make a lot of money off of. And then the Great Depression hit, so even more, that's when art turned to realism as opposed to the opulence of like Art Nouveau. So this video is almost in tribute of Pamela Coleman Smith and to the history of the tarot. I mean, it's strange to think that the history of divination with the tarot is only a couple hundred years old at the most, and mainly it is from the late 19th century onwards. So it's not really been in the history of the tarot. It hasn't been nearly as long. And before that, it was just a game. That was it. And it's still a game to this day. There are still people that play tarotchi, but on the western side of the world, it's more known for divination. But this was a little love letter to Pamela Coleman Smith, and it was a little love letter to the beautiful artwork and history and tradition of the tarot